Over the billions of years since the earth was born, there have been countless storms and floods. At first, there were no humans to see them. When people started living on the earth, the weather had mostly adapted to something comfortable for them. Of course, there were times when the rains were too weak or too strong, and so the people suffered. And then came the flood of 2010.
रात की 11 बजे हम अपने घरों में बैठे हुए थे कि पानी का जो लेवल था जो है ना सस्पेक्टेबल हमारे ज़हन में नहीं था, वो ऊपर जो है ना उसका शुरू हुआ 18 तारीख की रात को 8 बजे तकरीबन वो लेवल ऊपर होना शुरू हुआ। उसके बाद तकरीबन 11 बजे के टाइम तक के गांव में पानी का जो दाखिल हुआ, पर इतने वो प्रेशर के साथ था कि हमें अपनी संभलने का मौका नहीं मिला। सिर्फ खवातीन और हमारे बच्चे थे, हमने अपने बूढ़ों को उसको बस वॉलंटियरली जो नौजवान थे उन्होंने उसको गांव से बाहर किया। बाकी जो हमारे पास जो सभी स्टॉक थे, गंदम थे, हमारे जो देहाती इलाका है यहाँ पर हम अपने स्टॉक करते हैं, सारे साल का जो है राशन हुआ स्टॉक करते हैं, सभी जो शॉप्स थी वो हम यहाँ पर छोड़ के चले गए।
Nothing like this flood had ever been seen in living memory. The extensive rainfall that it brought in August 2010 was a freak weather event which made Pakistan's major rivers so swollen that they burst their banks, and all the surrounding areas were flooded. In some places, the wave came at daytime. In others, it came at night, when the people had gone to sleep after a hard working day in the sun. Some of the waves were 5, sometimes 6 feet high. The people tried to run, and many did not make it. As many as 2,000 died. This flood has affected about 2 million people. These people are mostly the rural poor, although the flood has enveloped several large cities as well. 1.5 million homes have been destroyed, and these people are homeless. The flood has affected communities living along the rivers in the country, as well as the northern mountains of Pakistan. Many of these areas are unreachable, as roads and bridges have been washed away by the waters. The people are stranded, with nothing to eat or drink, and no roof to shelter under. Relief efforts were made by various organizations. Unfortunately, these efforts were not as organized as they should have been, and many localities were left out. There were also reports of discrimination on the basis of religion, and many minority communities were not given aid. It was in this scenario that Faces Pakistan and NCIDE decided to start flood relief.
NCID और फेसिस पाकिस्तान ने 4 एरियाज सेलेक्ट किए थे रिलीफ का काम करने के लिए। इसमें नौशहरा है, रहीम यार खान में भोंग शरीफ है और आबादपुर, सिंध में कश्मोर है और बलोचिस्तान में जाफराबाद।
The special thing about this coalition of organizations was that they gave aid to all they could find, no matter what faith they practiced.
हम उन एरियाज को पर्टिकुलरली फोकस करते हैं जहाँ पे मिक्स्ड कम्युनिटीज और वल्नरेबिलिटी लोगों की ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा हो।
Technical assistance was given by the Geographical Information System.
The basic support for this timely response in the disaster is our Geographical Information System that has a data of all the mixed communities in the system. It goes up to 4 layers. From province to district to tehsil and up to village level.
The first distribution of relief goods took place in Nowshera, in Christ Church School and Lamba Vera Mandir. 40 Hindu families and 110 Christian families were given hygiene kits, food and water, baby food and other items of use. The second distribution took place in a village called Zaramina, 25 kilometers from the city. This is an area where there had been no flood relief at all, and the aid brought by Faces Pakistan and NCIDE were very welcome indeed. Another truckload of relief goods were sent out. A corps of volunteers, field officers and youth took it to Nowshera and gave out tents, food items, hygiene kits, floor mats, hand fans, water tanks, water coolers, and installed toilets and hand pumps. Next was Rahim Yar Khan. 1,000 families of mixed religious backgrounds were given relief goods. This distribution was headed by a partner organization, Rural Education and Enterprise Development, or REED. And special thanks are due to the Ministry of Minority Affairs, especially the Federal Minister himself, Shehbaz Clement Bhatti. One of the problems the team had to face was a riot while traveling to one of the camp cities. When gunshots injured people in a neighboring vehicle, an alternative route had to be taken. These riots happened because the dissemination of goods was so disorganized. Bags of rice and flour were thrown off trucks. Some burst open on landing, others landed in water and became useless. Aid given by various organizations was given to just anyone who approached them, without assessing if the person was in line for the second time. A lot of the time, the people coming to get aid were not flood affectees at all. They were simply taking advantage of the aid pouring in. And when the real flood victims realized this, of course, there was an outcry. It was gratifying to see that in the camps set up by Faces Pakistan and NCIDE, where the distribution was so organized and was happening after the affected people had been registered, things went much more smoothly. And so went the relief effort.
पहले जो हम सर्वे कर रहे थे कि कौन से गांव में कौन से इलाके में कितने घर हैं कितने अफराद हैं वहाँ हम जो है ना उनको एक टोकन दे देते थे वो टोकन हम उनको कहते थे कि आप लोगों ने नेक्स्ट टाइम इस डेट को आप लोगों ने आने हैं और अपने जो है फूड पैकेट्स ले जाएं.
Now the water has receded. It has left behind a different world. When the flood was at its height, dead livestock and even dead human bodies were literally floating around in it. This led to many different kinds of diseases for the people who had survived. There were skin diseases, breathing problems, and the most devastating of all, gastrointestinal problems. Although there were medical camps, some set up by Faces Pakistan and NCIDE, the problem as a whole has not been addressed yet, because the scale is so large. Much still needs to be done. But the greatest problem is that of rehabilitation. When the waters went down, they left behind them a landscape unrecognizable from what it had been before. The mud houses are now indistinguishable from the surrounding grounds. The remains of brick houses look as if there was a war, and the whole area was heavily bombed. The survivors of the flood have nowhere to go. And this is the problem Faces Pakistan must solve now.
मकसद ये था कि लोग जल्द अज जल्द अपना लाइवलीहुड बरसरे रोजगार हों, अपने घरों में वापस जाएं और नॉर्मल लाइफ की तरफ गामजन हों. ये ना हो कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा देर बैठे रहें, डिपेंडेंट रहें, मुख्तलिफ ऑर्गेनाइजेशन आएँ और उनको खाने के लिए दें. लेकिन इस वक्त ज़रूरत ये है कि हम लोगों को इंडिपेंडेंट बनाएं.
What the flood survivors need now is somebody to help them construct their houses, find a means of livelihood, and begin again to live as a proud, independent people. They need schools to send their children to. They need livestock so that they can farm again. And this is what Faces and NCID want to help them do. This will serve the purpose of helping the flood survivors. But the most important aspect of this will be the contribution to religious harmony, so that if another disaster ever happens, the people can get together and help each other without thinking of what religion they belong to.
What impressed me were the people themselves. I had the opportunity to talk with some of them. They have a lot of courage. They have a desire to restart their lives. I have seen people who have gone back to their villages to start over to the extent that they can, simply by rebuilding some sort of shelter. They have a high spirit and they have a high faith in God. Not only need the support, they deserve all the support that the organizations with the help from the outside can give them.